I don't know about you, but I think that brands, and apologies if Red Bull's in the audience, but I think that brands like Red Bull have it pretty easy. Essentially, you've just got to strap a camera to someone's head, push them off a cliff, and you've made your next piece of content. It's quite relatively easy, I would assume, to produce marketing collateral in that kind of market. What about a real challenge? Now, our next speaker, Ritesh Patel, who is the EVP and Chief Digital Officer from Ogilvy, based out in New York, Ogilvy Commonhealth worldwide, is clearly a man who likes a challenge, because operating in pharmaceutical and healthcare has to be one of the most tightly regulated, difficult industries to get things happening, because it's dealing with people's lives. But Ritesh is going to show us on a fascinating presentation about augmented reality, VR, wearables, and embeddable technology. And if he can get it working in this market, then we should all be able to get it working in every other market. So if you could please welcome Ritesh to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you've had lunch. Yes, I do work for an ad agency dressed like this. I've been mistaken for an account guy all morning, so it's not a good thing. Healthcare. When I got a call from UBM to say, could you come and speak about healthcare and pharmaceuticals, I said, sure, but what's the show about? And they said it's marketing and automation and technology. So you do realize I'll have about 900 slides. So they said, well, you got 45 minutes, so I'll try and do something in 45 minutes that takes about 2 hours usually. A little bit about me, and then let's go. So this should resonate with everybody who's in brand management, with whatever industry you're in, right? We've got 3 challenges going on these days in the markets that we're in. The first one is, how do we become relevant to our customers? How do we excite them? And then how do we engage and bond with them? Because we are increasingly ADHD. Everybody's got their phones out already. Look at this, right? So we're doing 2 or 3 things at the time. And so what's happening is the way we've addressed it from a healthcare industry is focusing more on content. Content is king. So we've got to move really from a marketing mindset to a publisher mindset. How are we going to give people content that will be, will resonate with them, if you wish? The second thing around excitement is really get those stories out there. In the healthcare industry, this is the big focus at the moment. How many people here, just raise your hands, have a real affinity to the drug you're taking? Right? Not a single soul has put their hand up. You probably don't even know the name of the drug you're taking. So how do we get you to get excited about taking that drug? That's the issue we face in this industry. And it's primarily a B2B business as well. And then the last thing is around bonding. Really get people to connect with you in a way that will immerse them in the content that you're creating so that your brand will resonate with them, or at least they can say, I recognize that. So a lot of what we do in the healthcare industry is all around education and content. And the way we approach it is primarily because of this. This is everybody. And our customer is also this human being first. They're completely connected. They're online all the time. They're engaging with content. They're doing all sorts of things. Now, the best one I saw the other day is 10% have checked their phone during sex. I'd like to meet that 10% one of these days, see who they were. And so how do we make sure we connect to those people, but in an environment that's highly regulated? So if you don't know about the pharmaceutical industry, it's the toughest place to do this kind of thing, because globally, you can only promote your products to healthcare professionals, except for 2 markets. 2 markets, the USA and New Zealand, you can also promote your products directly to patients. Everywhere else in the world, it's a B2B business. You can only talk to people who are accredited, and there's a huge amount of regulations involved of what you can do. So for example, if I create an ad unit for a drug aimed at a doctor, not only do I have to get it approved internally within the company that we're working for, but in the US or here by the regulatory bodies. Make 1 copy change, and you have to go through the whole process all over again. Doesn't matter what it is. Make 2 changes, you have to go through 2 processes. So we build in 6 to 8 weeks of regulatory review for everything we do. So it changes the way you work, it makes you more creative, and you have to start thinking of different ways to get your message out and make sure that it works every time. Because at the end of the day, we're messing with human lives. This 1-800-GET-THIN thing, that's a billboard I found in LA not too long ago. So they got sued because they were doing improper surgeries on people and installing a lap band in them. So there's the downside of advertising directly to patients, and that's probably why places like the UK control the advertising we do for healthcare. Okay? So with that in mind, this is a great chart. If somebody can explain it to me, put your hand up. This is the US health system. This is the regulatory environment to the United States health system. And now you know why it's $1.3 trillion. This is the government body that runs it, right? So at the end of it, there are two people that we work with primarily, the FDA and CMS. And they're the guys who basically manage everything we do from a marketing and a sales perspective. But you can imagine how complicated this gets, and new rules get created by different bodies within the government all the time. Which means we've got to focus. So there are two places we focus when we look at this stuff. In the good old days, there used to be things like a trade show like this one, but for medical meetings, very scientific in nature. They still go on, but not as big as they used to be, which is where you could reach your doctors. They would fly in from all over the world, go experience a booth and talk about your medicine and talk to a sales rep and all of that stuff. The sales rep could come and call on you in your office as a GP. And the last thing is, you got all sorts of flyers sent to you and printed material sent to you. That has all changed with the advent of digital. And so our focus is more on digital these days. This is a US chart. I couldn't find one for the UK, which means you're either not digital or there's something going wrong with the UK that I don't know about. But here you go. In the US, we'll have a digital native entering the workforce. I think it's the same here in the UK. It's the same anywhere over the world. And so they're engaging more and more on their mobile phones. It used to be you used to get books and books of stuff when you went to college to learn about medicine. Now everything's on an iPad. So their whole behavior has changed. You've got to start understanding that behavior, and then how do you create relevant content at a moment in time when they need it? And that's really the focus and the shift change that's occurred within healthcare. A doctor today has a huge amount of places they can go online to get information. And this gets fragmented and niched depending on who you are. So if you're a GP, you probably go to 3 or 4 places to get information about drugs, about medicines, things like that, learning about procedures, all that sort of thing. But I'll tell you what, if I'm a doctor today, I don't know half the stuff that's going on out there because it's all over the place. I have to spend an inordinate amount of time in the evenings and weekends if I want to continue education myself, or I'll just keep doing small things all the time. So it's a massive issue. And the places they go and the kinds of things they do is exploding. So these are all the things that we think about. The doctor in the middle, what are they looking for? Are they looking for practice management information, maybe some treatment information? Maybe as a patient, they want to give you some materials that will help you with your medicine. They've got to find it. And they've got to find it in a format that's right there for them. So that's the outer ring. And then how do they discover it? Where do they go to get it? And then if they're searching, what do we do to help them find it? So there's a lot of ways we now connect to the doctors to ensure that they get the content they need at the time they need it. Really, the front piece is the piece to work on, the distribution, discovery of content. And what do we do there? And one of the things we've done is started to do things like what the normal marketers do in other businesses, like consumer goods, a marketing cloud for the healthcare industry. This cloud basically has about 5.5 million profiles in them about doctors, their prescriptions, their behavior, their profiles, anything they have with respect to who they are and the kind of content they're consuming online. That makes it easy to target them once we have a profile of who they are, where they are, what practice they're in, what kind of prescriptions are they writing, what drugs are they usually prescribing, that sort of stuff. So, got to get to know the customer really, really well if you want to start marketing to them. And this is now doable both in the United States and in Europe, and also in some parts of Asia as well. So we're seeing more and more of these kinds of databases being created. The beauty of these things is you can actually go down to the individual doctor level and start looking at what their behavior is and what kind of content you need to create for them. And it could be unique content or it could be generic content. But because you know that they're mainly on, say, social media, in looking for this content, you can serve it up to them when they're on social media. And the last thing is starting to think about, as other businesses, if you're a B2C business, you're thinking about what is the consumer doing and how are you going to sell your product to them. We do the same thing in the healthcare industry with the doctor. What's their normal workflow? What do they do during the day in the hospital, in the practice, wherever they are, and how do we connect with them, and what bits of content do we give them to connect to them? So, normal human behavior, how many people reach for their phone first thing in the morning? Come on, don't lie, you all do, right? So check your email, resonates really well. Don't send emails at 2 in the afternoon when they're on their rounds. Send them an email at 6 in the morning with the relevant information that they want, and they'll consume it. As they go through their rounds during the day, what are they doing? How are they consuming content? Electronic health records. All of you, particularly here in the UK, in the US, Australia, Scandinavia, have an electronic health record that the doctor sort of manages on your behalf. There is a capability now to actually put content onto that electronic health record while they're doing the consultation. So you can actually give them a drug information, or you can give them information about a product, that sort of thing. So that's useful during the day. And most of them spend a lot of time in the evenings looking up journals and educating themselves, primarily iPad-based. Most of them are 3-screen homes, so how do you make sure you give them the content they want to? So those are the kinds of things that we focus on when we start looking at this industry, all within that regulatory framework. And bear with me, this is a method to my madness. We try and give them what they want. I'll get to the cool stuff in about 5 minutes, I promise you. Give them what they want. We do a lot of work in understanding what content are they consuming, what kind of things do they need, where do they need them, and then you've got to create that relevant content for them and serve it up to them when they need it. That's the biggest thing here, that personalization that has to occur. Otherwise, you'll lose them completely. It's a really bad world out there. Now, some of the places they're engaging, there's a really interesting service called Figure One. It's the Instagram of doctors. There are 1 million doctors on Figure One, created by 2 Canadian doctors who decided to get out of the doctor business and go into the social media business. It's an interesting platform. You literally have doctors taking pictures of things that they've never seen before, posting them up saying, does anybody know what this is? And then you get responses. Hundreds of them, sometimes thousands of them. There's a similar service like this called ViewMedi for surgeons. They do the same thing. They put their surgeries up on ViewMedi and they get peer reviews on them. So you get comments like, call that a knee surgery, I can do better, that sort of stuff. So it's really interesting what they're doing. So Instagram of doctors, Figure One, they now have a whole advertising model. What they do is they can target the doctors by their profile, their social profile, and the kind of posts they do. Right? The other one is things like DocFin. It's an app. The app really is the way doctors access information about drugs. And so what you can do there is literally create rooms around diseases where you can put content in that is relevant for that doctor. Because it's GPS-based, they know exactly where the doctor is, what hospital they're in, what kind of service they're performing, and what content are they consuming, so you can then serve up relevant content alongside the content they're actually consuming. So those are just 2 places, and there are hundreds like that. The biggest area that we continue to see is this connected experience at trade shows. There are still a few trade shows which are very, very valuable for doctors to engage in. And you've got to connect to them in this manner and then continue that conversation as you go online. Most of the customers we have a disconnected experience from this really emerging, immersive experience around how do you get information, and then when they get to the website, it's completely different. So that connected experience needs to be very, very clear. And I'll show you a video of the one on the bottom left, a bit of a story on that. And by the way, the work I'm showing you is not just our work. I've got work from all over the place, from a lot of agencies that work in this market. And that one is around educating doctors around MS. There you go. So just to give you an idea of using engaging ways to connect to a doctor and giving basic information in a different way completely. We're doing the same thing with patients, but where patients are going really is around here. Dr. Google. Dr. Google rules when it comes to patients. Doctors go to other things, patients go here. So they normally walk into the doctor's surgery saying, I'm suffering with this. It's got to a point where, I think this is from Google themselves, globally, this is a global stat, 70% of the searches around healthcare start with, I think I'm suffering from something. And then they carry on from there. So this is a huge, huge way to connect to patients and getting them information as they're looking for this stuff on Google and in other areas. But it's got to a point where the Belgian authority created this ad. How many of you have seen this? Oh, 3 people, finally. Whenever I show it.
We'll find the right cure for that poor little finger of yours. Just give me a sec. Ah, darling, look at this. Some Malky in Swansea had an infected finger and it turned green. Let's see what more I can find. Oh my God. In the Amazon, they found a man who had an infected finger and eventually it fell off. On this site, they're talking about hair loss. Well, there's a German man who had terrible nosebleeds. And ulcers. You might get them as well. Do you think it's contagious?
So, Belgian authority telling you to go see your doctor, don't Google it. Google has taken this seriously and are now creating credible content. So now I think if you go to the desktop version of Google and you search about 80 different maladies, the only first page results you get are credible results that they've vetted. There's a right-hand pane that actually has content from people like the Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic, or the NHS here, where they're serving up specific credible medical content. But there's also opportunities for brands to actually engage in that environment if you have credible content that you want to put up there for patients to consume. But you can only do it in New Zealand and USA, so it doesn't really matter in the other parts of the world. Where we're seeing a massive shift is apps. So you used to call a surgery or a GP's office, try and get an appointment, make sure that they can book you in, you get there, all the stuff you have to do before, etc. Now in the US and coming soon here, I met the guy who's created something similar for the UK and launched it last week. Things like ZocDoc and Teladoc, where everything's on an app. It's connected to your electronic health record. So use your mobile, make an appointment, just like making a restaurant appointment. It'll tell you the diary and when it's available. It'll send you messages about things to do. So you can embed specific pieces of content into that app. So we do a lot of work around mapping, if you're looking for a doctor in the area, specialties, that sort of thing. So these apps are changing the way we interact with the healthcare professional, and we can get patient information into these apps so that our customers can get the information they need about the specific drug. We're also seeing it in all manner of other apps. This one is a big one around personalized health concierge in the US. This is huge. You saw the 1.3 trillion problem we have. So now you don't call somebody, you in an app send a message to someone who takes care of everything for you. These things are also now tracking everything. So if you've got an iPhone, you've got Care Kit, Research Kit, Health Kit, Strava. They're all tracking everything you're doing. Human is another one. In the US, those apps are now connecting to the electronic health record. So when you go see your doctor and he says, you're a diabetic and you haven't exercised, the phone will prove that you have actually walked the 200 steps, that sort of thing. So we're seeing an integration of patient health and wellness apps and integrating them in your overall health and well-being. That opens up a whole bunch of opportunities around how to engage with folks. The other area we're seeing is new interfaces that are being created because of that. Somebody's created a band for the baby. You can monitor everything the baby's doing, their heart rates, their temperature, all of that stuff. Those things there are from Google. They're earbuds. They'll measure all your temperature through your ears while you're listening to music and transmit it to an app. And then Under Armour's building a whole range of clothing with all sorts of gadgets in them to track everything you're doing, from your health, your steps, your exercise, your blood pressure, your heat, all of that stuff. So we're seeing a massive explosion of all of these apps and pieces of content. Mobile phone is in the middle of it, and that's tracking everything you're doing. So you can actually push content to those apps into the mobile phone at the time that the patient needs it. Reminders, things like that. Here's one which is a fitness app, MyFitnessPal. What we did there is we actually worked with this company. This Bengay is a cream that you can use. It's about 2,000 years old. It was invented in the 50s, I think, sometime. Old brand. They wanted to rejuvenate themselves with the millennials. So this is what they did.
Having been around for over 100 years, Bengay enjoys great awareness as a topical pain reliever. Our goal was to convince millennials that Bengay isn't their grandfather's brand, it's theirs. We knew that there was a great opportunity to associate Bengay with the gratifying pain that comes from a hard workout. With 72% of millennials carrying smartphones in the US, we sought to use this popular fitness companion to establish Bengay as the champion of movement and exercise. Tapping into reward-based technology, Bengay joined in on the workout rather than interrupt it. Through popular fitness apps, Bengay motivated and inspired over 1.8 million fitness fans right at that moment of joy when they finished a big run or dominated a yoga session. Congratulations from Bengay were instantly delivered, along with a reward for their hard work, free music for their next great workout. Over 100,000 millennials participated during the 2-month campaign. That's over one Bengay reward redeemed every minute for 60 days straight. And how successful were we in influencing Bengay's new audience? 15 to 24 times more effective when compared to category benchmarks. The campaign drove a 70% lift in ad awareness. Message association back to the brand's cold pain relief creative increased by 39%. Brand favorability also increased by 32%. And the always elusive and very important purchase intent metric rose by 38%. Through this unique mobile campaign, Bengay found a way to own moments that mattered most and connected with younger audiences in meaningful ways. And thus, a newer and younger relationship was born.
So there you go. The mobile phone has become ubiquitous, and all of these apps that are being created for patients to use can also be used for these kinds of things at that moment in time when they're looking at something. So that's around the apps. And the doctors. I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to go through the other stuff that I said I would talk about, which is the emergence of this new technology and how we use this in the healthcare world today. So augmented reality, virtual reality, and increasingly this year we've seen a huge uptick in artificial intelligence and bots, particularly chatbots and providing services in the healthcare arena, in a regulated environment with all of the craziness we have to go through. From the AR perspective, we're looking at sort of a continuum. So if you look on the left-hand side over there, Google Cardboard owns most of the market share. We do a lot of work with cardboard-based topics, stories, 360 VR stuff, simulations, that sort of thing. And then as you go up, you'll see some new things emerging on how we can use these technologies to educate, particularly the doctor, about how the medicine is impacting the body. This has become very, very useful because you can really create a very immersive environment. Recently, we just created something where you fly through the body, you get up to the brain, you interact with the brain cancer cell that's there, and you see how the medicine is impacted down to the protein level. That's a really educational way of showcasing how a medicine works for the doctor, rather than just watching a video or reading a bit of scientific material. So we're seeing the use of this absolutely exploding. And the areas where we're seeing it more and more is in Google, more and more people are creating these stories. YouTube now has a 360 VR channel. The New York Times has a 360 VR channel. The New England Journal of Medicine just launched a 360 VR channel. We're launching about 7 360 VR channels for 7 different pharma companies at the moment, all taking their content and moving it to a VR environment for, for immersion, if you wish. The other area we're seeing, anybody heard of Daydream? The new Google Cardboard? It was launched on Monday. Well done. So, the original cardboard, you have to hold it to your face like that, which means you can't do anything. You just have to keep looking around, up and down. The new version, Daydream, has a strap, so your arms are free, and there's a controller. And they've already done deals with HBO Now, Major League Baseball in the US, and a couple of gaming people, so you can actually use this for gaming environments, watch a 360 version of a baseball game, that sort of thing. So you can take your existing content and put it on this and make it more engaging. The third area we're seeing is in this one, HTC Vive. This is a very immersive environment, and I've got a couple of videos. Actually, I've got one video I'll show you about how this is used in changing the way people interact with content. So, lastly, 2 others. Microsoft HoloLens, version 1 is crap, it's useless. You look forward, and that's the only thing you can do. If you look sideways, you can't see a thing, you lose your vision. But I'm sure they'll improve it, and that's the user interaction look like. Graphics are very cheesy, but I think they'll get there. The difference with Microsoft HoloLens is that everything is in one. So you're not tethered to anything. You can walk around a room and experience different pieces as you walk around the room and interact with different pieces of content. So if they get the software right and they get the user interaction right, it'll do really, really well. Everybody's looking forward to this thing, Magic Leap. Magic Leap does something completely different. Instead of you looking out and experiencing VR, they actually transmit everything into your pupils, so it fools your brain completely. You really think you're holding that baby elephant in your hands. It looks completely real. And here's a video of a Magic Leap user interface. So pretty slick. Everybody's waiting for this one to arrive in December. So it'll change again the way we can create immersive content and how we can interact with it. It's a completely new dynamic in creating content. So if you're a developer, go learn how to do Unity coding, because you're going to make a fortune in the next 5 years. Everything runs on Unity. Virtual reality-wise, we've done it for, as I said, experiences around what we call the mode of action or a mode of disease for a drug. But where we're doing more and more, and we're seeing more and more, is this kind of virtual reality training programs for doctors. How do you train a doctor to administer a drug? That sort of thing. And then the last area that's being used quite a lot is augmented reality. At medical meetings, where you can take the combination of static content and create virtual content around videos or any of that stuff. And the pioneer of that is Orasma, and then Blip are based here as well. And lastly, Google Cardboard. 2 to share with you. Google Cardboard, how do you make Excedrin relevant? So I'll show you how my migraine works, and you can experience it. They then took it to the next level.
My mom,
My boyfriend.
my best friend, my coworker has volunteered to experience my migraine through my eyes.
It's heartbreaking to see her in so much pain, and I've literally seen her get tears.
I wish I could take it on for you. I do. You know I do.
A migraine isn't just a bad headache. So using virtual reality, we've worked with each sufferer to mirror exactly what they usually go through.
They usually start with crazy blinking lights.
Floating spots.
Everything gets blurry in just one eye.
That's exactly what it looks like.
And challenged our volunteers to take on their migraine in a regular day.
You never know when a migraine's going to come on.
I've noticed that I'm losing vision.
The worst part is feeling off kilter. Any sort of bright light will make me feel like the room is spinning.
I start to see little dots, pops of light here and there.
The second that the auras start, everything else stops.
Oh.
This is so crazy. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Oh.
I gotta stop that.
Oh my God. Are you okay? I'm so sorry, Annie, that you go through this. Oh my God. You alright? Oh my God. I don't even know how you function. It's exactly what you just experienced, plus severe pain.
I'm sorry that I ever doubted you.
You believe me now, right? I have your back for sure.
So that campaign, while it was aimed for patients, has now been rolled out to doctors as well. So they can experience their patient's migraine. And so the doctors can feel empathy. So taking a bit of content and giving it out to other areas, really interesting, right? And then lastly, this is an HTC Vive experience. Imagine a digital dentist in 2020 was the ask. And so this is what the result is. There is the patient, Lisette. When you click on her, her mouth appears in front of you. Now you can play with the mouth, like any dentist loves to do. So blow it up. It tells you there's something wrong with the tooth. You can pick the tooth. Just set up a treatment for it. Do the same thing with the gums. Again, set up a treatment for that. And then look at the cavities. So you can really look deeper into that cavity. This is connected to a Bluetooth Wi-Fi enabled toothbrush that you use. It's got sonic and it's got light, so it continually takes scans of your mouth. That's today, and then uploads it. And then what we did was we took that scan and converted it to this, right? So I told you some of the cool stuff I was going to get to, so thanks for staying. So that's basically what HTC Vive's used for. You can imagine you can create all sorts of immersive experiences around how medicine works using this kind of technology. And that's basically what we're doing. You can create a brain, move it around, look at lungs, go deep into the lungs, go out of the lungs, that sort of stuff. And I'm running out of time very quickly, so I'm going to get to two things that I said I would, which is the chatbots and the AI stuff. So here we're changing the absolute service and the delivery of content.
We think that you should just be able to message a business in the same way you'd message a friend. You should get a quick response, and it shouldn't take your full attention like a phone call would, and you shouldn't have to install a new app. Now, if you want to send a message, Flower, you don't have to install a new app or enter your credit card again. You just send a message. I love this one. I find it pretty ironic because now to order from 1-800-Flowers, you never have to call 1-800-Flowers again.
So that is what Facebook just launched, and there's about 400 small businesses who've already started to take advantage of that. For the 900 million people on the platform, this is amazing stuff, because you just send a message and things appear. Well, we've taken the same metaphor and applying it to healthcare, where you can chat with somebody or get results of something that you're suffering from, and then you'll get a chat response. So you can imagine all sorts of ways you can now provide services to a person. They may not go to Google anymore to search for a result for something they're suffering from. They can send a message here on Facebook, or use a chatbot of some sort. And you'll see a nice explosion of chatbots for all manner of things in the next 18 months, I would suspect. And they're all connected to two things. The front end is a chatbot, text messaging. The middle tier is an artificial intelligence engine that learns as it goes along and then starts serving you content up as you come along. And the back end is a database that connects it. So these bots are used everywhere. The big one that I found here, the first one that I found in healthcare, is out of the UK. It's called Your.md. Go download this app. It's connected to the NHS Choices database. You can then interact with it. I'm not feeling well. It'll start asking you the same questions your doctor asks, and at some point it'll tell you what the chatbot thinks you're suffering from, get you to the NHS Choices database to give you the treatment info, and then say, do you want to talk to your doctor? So that's what's been launched here in the UK. So these kinds of things are going to start changing the way we deliver healthcare, because it's connected to a bunch of credible information. So you'll see a lot of these appearing. So I'll give you an example. I did this. This was for the beta in March. Based on my phone number and who I was, it said, oh, I know who you are. How long have you been sneezing? Do you have any other symptoms? Et cetera, et cetera. So, sorry, let me go back. And then it just carries on, and there'll be a point in time it says, based on all your answers, I think you've got hay fever. Here's a link to information about hay fever. Here's a link to a chemist. And here's, do you want to call your doctor? So go download the app. It's pretty cool. Lastly, two areas that these app things will take over. Anybody got an Amazon Dash button? My wife loves this. It's connected to her Amazon account. Actually, it's my Amazon account and my credit card. Push a button, things arrive. It's that simple. That Tide Dash button is a magnet. It's stuck on the washing machine. When you're running out of Tide, she just presses the button. Amazon Prime delivers either same day or the following morning, right? So you're seeing more and more of these little bots appear, and there's 100 advertisers that Amazon has now signed up for this kind of service. The other one is Alexa. This is coming to the UK. We've been using this in the US. My son literally is in the living room. The Alexa's sitting in the kitchen. He says, Alexa, pizza. And Domino's arrives with pizza at the door 15 minutes later. So these kind of interfaces are changing the way we are interacting. We're now using it for healthcare. For people who have chronic diseases or older patients who can't access technology, a voice-activated system where they go, when should I take my medicine? You can do things like, Alexa, remind me to take my medicine at 2 in the afternoon, and it'll have a loud alarm and it'll say, take your medicine. There's an app connected to it, so if you're a caregiver, you can then instruct Alexa to turn on at a particular time, if you're looking after a relative in another city, and tell Alexa to do something, and it'll do it. And then the back end has got IFFT on it, so you can create all sorts of codes for it to do whatever you want. I order Uber this way in the morning at home. I'll just say, Alexa, Uber to work. A car arrives 15 minutes later, whatever it is. Those kinds of things. So this voice activation thing is also going to be big. They're arriving here in Germany, France, and Italy in the next 2 months, and then it's going to go global because it's the languages that they've fixed. So you can talk to it in different languages. The middle tier is the Google DeepMind AI interface, so it learns all the different accents. So it knows, the northern accent, southern accent, Norwegian accent, etc. So that's what's going on with these voice-activated things. So soon, you get all these connected devices being able to integrate with each other. You'll be able to have a customer experience that's pretty interesting, right? And I want to get to the last video before I go. This is it.
Hey, how's it going? Let me show you something cool. Let me just pee a little. Yeah, nice one. And now, without even having to cry, Mommy's gonna come in my room to change me. Ta-da! You know how I did that? I'm using Huggies Tweet Pee, the diaper that warns parents when it's time for a diaper change. Its sensor detects humidity inside the diaper and sends a tweet to my parents, wherever they are. Through an app, of course, because, that's how we roll in my generation. Mommy and Daddy know when I pee, when it's time to change the diaper, and even how many diapers I'm going to need over the following days. That can be bought and received at home with a simple click of a button. And because it prevents unnecessary changes, Mommy gets to save some money and buy me more toys. Yeah. Other babies also tried Tweet Pee. And you can see what their moms think on the website.
Agora eu voltei a trabalhar e deixei o Caetano com a babá em casa. Durante a semana ela que cuida dele. Eu posso ainda assim acompanhar se ela troca sempre a fralda dele ou não.
O Tweet Pee avisa, né, pelo smartphone que fiz xixi, mas ainda não tá cheio. Então é muito bacana, né?
O sensor da Huggies, para mim, é muito prático. Ele sabe a hora certa que eu vou ter que trocar.
With Tweet Pee, Huggies is showing that innovation can go beyond comfort and absorption. And who knows, maybe one day, every diaper is going to be like this. Yeah, I'm being a part of diaper history. Whoops. Sorry, Mommy, that wasn't a number one. Good thing that the best sensor is your nose. Tweet Pee, helping Mommy organize, monitor, and buy diapers online.
There you go. Thank you very much for your time.